My name is Tony Gonzalez from Made in Metal, and today we are going to talk to Fabrizio Grossi, who not recently, who is going to release a new CD. Fabrizio, what is the title of the CD?
Well, actually, it's my band, so it's Fabrizio Grossi and Soul Garage Experience. And the title of the record is Counterfeited Solstice, Volume 1, because there's more to come.
Yes, Counterfeited Solstice. So now I'm going to ask you about this title, but let me tell you first that maybe you are very far from it, but as soon as I read the name of your band, it reminds me the first track of the CD, Oro, Incenso e Birra, the Zucchero Fornaciari. So do you know what I'm talking about?
It's one of my favorite records of all time. I was playing it back actually this Sunday. I was out with the family and I ended up in picking that record up. Actually, that's a record that really changed a lot of things for me when it came out. It was a long time ago. Funny enough, um, I was still living in Italy, and I had my band. And with my band, a place where we were rehearse, it's actually where some of the guys from Zucchero bands used to rehearse. And Lisa Hunt, the singer, used to be there all the time. She was really funny. I had, fond memories of those times, but the actual record itself, it's fantastic. I love, see, I really like when people find this kind of like analogisms and stuff, because I think I relate a lot to Adelmo Fornaciari, who's actually people call Zucchero, because of the ironic way he writes his words and the thematics. I think we're coming from the same place, and which doesn't mean Italy, meaning we're coming from mentally, culturally, politically, and ethically from the same place, and musically too. At the end of the day.
So thank you, Fabrizio, because sometimes my mind fly and I think that I imagine that there are resembles with something that the artist said that is totally different.
No, you know what? Actually, it was just actually in these last few months, I would say, we've been listening to a lot of older Zucchero's record, and I was reminding myself how much all of that has to do with what I'm doing, which is actually, it's kind of like an oxymoron if you think, because I left Italy because fairly young, because I just wanted to follow more like actually my musical directions than what was happening in Italy back then. But funny enough, that record was big. So there's always been that kind of audience, at least in my native country, but it's very few people that wanted to push that agenda. The thing is, I've been listening to that, and I've been kind of like thinking about all the music that I've been listening to growing up. And I'm not talking about the general influences that everybody has, from Led Zeppelin to Deep Purple and all of that. But the things that were with me from the very beginning, like Bob Marley and Santana, and some of the black music like James Brown and all of that. And also the music that I was listening to it growing up, that kind of like I did it maybe personally, not related, but kind of like wanting to look like that I was affiliated to, but they had a major element in what I was doing. My agent for Europe was in the UK. He also the agent of my other band, Supersonic Blues Machine. When he heard the first few songs on the record, he told me, "Fab, that sounds great. It sounds like Dr. John's playing with the Clash." But some Bob Marley song. And I'm like, wow, because actually that's the music that I always had around. And I never really thought, when you're like 14, 15, you start playing and you're thinking, all the flashy players back then was a different time. So it was Van Halen, it was Motley Crue. It's like Clash. Oh no, that's like punk or whatever. But I like that stuff, as much as I like black music. So I think it's just all natural that all these things now are coming back, and the good thing that what's happening today, music wise, I think the only thing that good that it's happening today's music wise is that there are not really boundaries no more. So the fact that some people would like to or can combine, let's say, rock with pop or hip hop and classical music or whatever it is. I mean, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, people would have had a problem. Right now, it doesn't matter. If you do a good song, or if you're honest, if you're, if you're true to what you're doing, people get that message. And that's what I really like. And I think it's a good time for me to release this record, because I can release everything that I always wanted to do. And I've really never really had the chance to, because of timing and everything else,
So, and Fabrizio, why this title, Counterfeited Solstice Volume 1? The Counterfeited Solstice, the Volume 1 is because there will be a Volume 2 in 2 years, maybe.
No, I see. That's the thing. That's the other thing too. There's a lot of music that I compile during throughout my life, and I always wanted to do like a solo record. However, if you want to call it solo record, this is not really. I mean, it's me doing a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm still playing with the band, so it wouldn't be fair to all the other guys in the band. But this kind of like record themed about me and my experiences and my songs. I mean, a lot of that music has been there in my vault for a while. A big chunk of it were songs that I was started working on it for the new Supersonic Blues Machine, but realizing that that's like way too funky, way too soul for what the band normally does, especially now with Chris Barras in it. It didn't really fit in. And that allowed me to have all this material. It's material that can cover more than a record. But it's not an easy way out for me saying, okay, we're releasing like half of the record now and half of it in 2 years. It's not that, because I do not know when I'm going to release volume 2. I will, but I don't, because that's actually the good thing about, for once, being completely independent. Because, I mean, if you know, my daily job is the one of a producer. And I produce records, sometimes events, but studios, videos, and all of that. And so I always have to kind of like follow, unfortunately, somebody else. Not unfortunately, that's the reality of it. Somebody else agenda, needs, timelines, and everything. And even with my other band, because the label and because of everybody else involved, you always have to follow some specific timings. Here, I can do whatever the hell I want. So I released a couple of singles at the beginning of the year just to see what was the reaction of people. We're doing this now. And, maybe the next record is going to be, even more old school soul rootsy, 3-piece a la Cream, if Cream were from Alabama. And then after that, I can release again Solstice Volume 2. So I wanted to keep it open. This is like all my world. Everything that is coming out, it's all music that is relevant to me. So all these things will happen, but I do not have like necessarily a chronological order for it. That explains Volume 2. The Counterfeited Solstice, it's very simple. Just like with my other band, Supersonic Blues Machine, the major component of all this music comes from American rootsy music, meaning blues, soul, and R&B. Soul, R&B, and funk, and all of that are kind of like heavy derivatives of original blues music. But, at the end of the day, they all have the same source. However, for myself to claim to be a blues man or anything like that, I was born and raised in Italy. I lived between London, Toronto, New York, and Los Angeles. I understand that I've been living in the States for longer than I've ever lived in Europe, and I'm American at all effects. And I've always been influenced by this music. But then again, I did not have that experience, meaning when you define a bluesman, I would say Muddy Waters was a bluesman. Howlin' Wolf was a bluesman. Freddie King was a bluesman. Hell, Shamika Copeland is a bluesman, blues lady. Me, I just kind of like pay a very loving tribute to the people that really inspire me, both personally and musically, in what I'm doing and giving me all this inspiration. But it's just not really honest in terms of, if I wanted to call it like a real, it's a blues record. Come on, let's be honest. I mean, blues, I think the real blues, I mean, I think that the last guy that did that, the real guy, was like B.B. King. There's just a few other guys out there that can really be considered blues players, blues guys, like my dear friend Joe Louis Walker. Yeah, he's a blues man. He is, of course. So Toronto Cannon, these kind of cats. And not only because they're black, it's just because their upbringing, their story, and the time that they lived through, they really justify the meaning of saying, I'm a bluesman, or I'm doing R&B, or I'm doing this kind of stuff. When I'm saying counterfeited, it's exactly what it means. It's a counterfeited version. Honest, but it's a counterfeit version of it, because it's not counterfeited in a bad or malevolent way. It's just that it's not the original thing. So if you're listening to Soul Garage Experience and you're trying to find any things that sound exactly like, maybe blues or American roots music would have played in the 40 and the 50 and the 60, well, you got another thing coming. However, I think that doing this and giving it this title, I'm paying proper tribute to the people that and the artists that I respect the most. Solstice, because obviously that's what it is. It's a game of play. That word doesn't really exist. But since we're getting close to the summer solstice, instead of calling it solstice, it's a solstice in terms of like it's the rebirth. It's a new moon. It's a new cycle. It's attached to soul. I like the sound of it. So, once again, I didn't have to ask permission to anybody. So that's how it called.
Now the name has a meaning to me. You release, Fabrizio, you release 3 videos in advance, and there is one that is my favorite, that is Ain't Not Giving Up. Is my favorite because I discovered the guitar player Derek Day. But on the other hand, to me, is my favorite because finally, after watching the video and listening to the song, I don't know if you are giving up or not giving up.
Oh, no, actually, the song itself, it could be misleading because the song sounds like a happy song. And I guess the groove itself, it's, I guess, catchy. However, the words and the songs are not really. It's not like anything bad or violent or anything like that. It's just that there's it's the result. Ain't No Giving Up. It's, I would say, of all the songs that I collected for Counterfeited Solstice, at least the volume 1, it's one of the 3 COVID songs. I call it COVID songs because it was written now. I mean, recently doing this. So it's not an old thing or anything like that. And even though it's the last song that I wrote for this record, and it's not old because it's probably like 3 months old, I always wanted to have a vehicle on one of these songs to talk about what happened last summer here in the States. And not only what happened here in the summer. I mean, what you saw happening last summer was just the symptoms of the issue, and I'm talking about a lot of social injustice and racially motivated, but not only. I'm not one of those guys that always makes it, it's a black or white. There's a lot of other things in the middle. At the end of the day, it's a lot has to do with how economically this country, and not only this country, I would say majority of the world is run at the expenses of the poor or the people that do not necessarily have that loud of a voice. Since I'm a sucker for Bob Marley, not only the music, but how direct, concise, precise, but also gentle his message was, to be able to find a way to convey the thinking about these songs and what this song is all about in a way that people wouldn't be I would say, pushed away by lyrics or whatever it is being too in your face or violent to begin with, but kind of like, okay, I'm going to give you something cool to groove to it. So maybe you'll pay attention to what I have to say. Because unfortunately, not everybody listens to lyrics, especially in Europe. Beside England, people tend to kind of like associate with the song because they like the melody, they just sing along with it, but they never really pay attention to see what's in it, what's between the word, what's in between the line. And this song, it's very important because it carries the same message that it's happening throughout the record, and it touches subjects that are very dear to me. And I mean, if you notice and if you hear now the lyrics of the song after what I just told you, I think it will make more sense, in terms of, what it says, and giving up now, keep aiming high or keep pushing ahead with your face on the ground, and just never stop asking why with your face on the ground. Well, we know whose face on the ground I'm talking about. There's no need to make those names, but people know now. And I guess it's just another side of what we're doing. And on this record, to be honest with you, I would say is my social slash political output, because I don't necessarily do that with Supersonic, even though, again, because of all the where I'm coming songwriting wise, even with my other band, our topics are very social, but in a loving, in a positive way. There's no weirdness on anything, and I know, so I have other people involved in that project, so I don't like to put my words in their mouth. Here, however, I have a little bit more of freedom to do that, and I would say it's kind of like it's my Tom Morello, channeling, of these things,
Yes, I have seen that the videos are not expensive, but are effective. And something that I discovered and I like it, that all the videos are outside, you are showing the city, but not the most touristic part of Los Angeles. Apart from the big Hollywood letter that appears in one video, just 2 seconds, not the rest. Maybe
Mhm.
it's because you prefer showing us another side of the city. Why?
Well, the real side of the city, because unfortunately in today's society, everybody is only afraid, not only afraid, is only concerned about the aesthetics of it. Look at the most watched TV shows, are the one with all the glitz and, the beautiful people and all of that. People that require the more attention in the media and all of that. You get it from the Kardashian to the next crazy one, and you see all these videos with Bentleys and houses and pool and all these things. That's not the reality. Come on, let's be real, man. Come on.
Don't tell me
It's
that
like
this
when
is don't tell me that this is not Los Angeles.
no, well, no. I mean, it's true. I mean, there's I mean, kind of like we made it. We made that kind of stuff here. I mean, that's the part. But to be honest with you, in a city that whether you want to consider it the greater Los Angeles area or just Los Angeles, or you want to consider legals and illegals or whatever it is, you're counting about almost like 20 and more million people living around Los Angeles. I guess, I mean, maybe 10% are multimillionaire. Everybody else is working people, man. I mean, and it's the same. Los Angeles doesn't have anything different than than Mexico City, than Madrid, than Paris, than Milan, than London, or any other place, any other big city in the world. There's always the same problem and the same things. They always have the area where you have the rich folks living, and over there, of course, you find the most beautiful homes and all of that. And again, I mean, here too, Hollywood is just like the rest of the world has been dealing with Hollywood for the last 100 and something year in terms of TV and movies. So you're getting shown only what the system wants you to see, and obviously, I guess from the overall appealing sense, it's easier to have a nice pop video with somebody singing at the board of the pool, with everybody partying and all of that. And sure, I have a lot of friends that have a pool. Even where we live here too, there is a pool and all of it. However, when you get down at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 101, on the 405, which are our main freeways, and you see all these people going to work on the buses, on the car, and then you're driving the streets and all of it, you realize the Beverly Hills is just like this much compared to this. Then it's the city, and it's just the world. I mean, at the end of the day, I love the city incredibly for everything that is given to me and for all the inspirations and all of it, and especially the music, the sounds, and the history of it. Going back all the 60s, Laurel Canyon and all of that, the Doors and blah blah blah. But there is a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed here. And again, for once, I don't need to show up myself driving a Bentley convertible to look good. I don't think that doesn't fit my definition of looking good. So, and I wanted to be true to myself, and that's what I show it. That doesn't mean that I live in a tent, but unfortunately, that's a reality that in America today, everyone might be faced with.
We are coming back to the songs, and there is a song that is with or without you, and in the song is singing Betty Smith. And when I was listening to the song, Fabrizio, I thought, for example, do you write the song for her, or did you have the song written and then you give it to her? Because
Okay.
he defends the song really good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I generally both for Soul Garage and and especially for Supersonic, I don't write necessarily a song thinking, oh, this guy or that guy or gonna be doing this. It's just like after, because the song comes together, whether it's like from first from the words or the other way around, first from the music and then the words and all of it, is it's something that it's by itself. It's a message and it's a reality by itself. I got the idea for the song, musically wise and melody, and the song itself. It's also structured as a. It could be. It could sound deceivingly. It could remind, let's say, a quarrel between lovers, like you like your ex girlfriend or wife or whatever it is, and you kind of like you're giving them the fingers, like just get off. I mean, I will go on without you and all of that. But the reality of it, it's not that. The song itself is basically, if our planet, Mother Earth, would have a conversation with us, human, and just give us a peace of mind about what we've been doing to her for the last 5, 6, 2, 3,000 years, and then all of a sudden, when the whole thing with the lyrics was taking shape, and I think the song, the concept of the song, I think it's great, but it wouldn't be. I don't know. It just me singing it. I don't know. There's. I'm not really sure. But I need somebody that can sound like Mother Earth, that can sound like really earthy, big, and everything. And I'm good friends with Betty, and we always wanted to. We actually had planned to record, and we wanted to record another song together. But as soon as this one came up, I show it to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I know. I understand where you're going with this. Yeah, I'm gonna be singing it like I was, Mother Earth." And that's exactly what happened.
Yes, you can be sure that Betty made it because I
Oh
feel
yeah.
the song very strong. And there is another song whose title, I'm sure that I'm going to say it in a wrong way, that is Shitload of Sugar.
Yes.
Yes, because this song reminds me from Glenn Hughes, from his soul moments. And I know that you were working with Glenn Hughes in the past,
Mhm.
but maybe you had another idea about this song.
Well, the analogy that a lot of people are giving me about the songs between Dez, Diamond, the singer, for these tracks, and Glenn is because of the vocal escapades. Well, Glenn, I don't know if there is any other singer on the planet like now, right now, like him. The guy is just stupidly good. There's a reason why they call him the voice. It's just because it's like, and the older he gets, the better he gets. There's something that always, I'm like, dude, Glenn, Big Daddy, as I call him. It's like, it's just stupid. I mean, like I said, every year he gets better. Generally, it's the other way around. So, and Diamond is a phenomenal singer. He's American Idol and American Got Talent finalist. He's got incredible chops, but they have two different upbringings. One is from Wolverhampton, UK, in the middle of the fog and everything, and the other one is from New Orleans, Louisiana. So the sun and the south and all of it. However, they have one major thing in common. Both of these guys consider their best and most favorite singer Stevie Wonder. So there's a lot of Stevie in both guys singing, and here and there, I guess, sometimes some of those delivery vocal runs and style and approach kind of like it shows. I mean, you cannot really hide that much when it comes down to that kind of singing. And I think the way Diamond approached Shitload of Sugar, I think it was in a very octave skipping kind of way, which is something that Glenn loves to do too, because once again, that Stevie Wonder does it. So that's, I think, the analogies between the two guys. Music wise itself, I think that probably Shitload of Sugar is probably structure wise. It's the most blues song that we have on the record. That and also another track called I Never Thought That You Loved Me. I think those are the most blues one. One, it's said minor chords, and Shitload of Sugar is happier. But I think Shitload of Sugar reminds me more of bands like Black Keys, The Record Company, or Fantastic Negrito, or Vintage Trouble. more than the classic rock that the Glenn sings. I'm really cool. I'm really happy about the songs, and actually, the song itself, it's interesting because it's the only song that is that doesn't really have like a major social slash political message. It sounds funny, but this one is actually in regards of like a bad relationship, but kind of like toxic relationship. You know, everybody I think experience in their own life the energy vampire. You know, that person or those couple of person that when you hang with them or spend time with them, at the end of the day you feel drained. When that happens within your own, let's say, family, or between boyfriends, girlfriend, wife, husbands, whatever it is, you know, that's actually, it's even more impactful. And that's what the song is talking about. Basically, you know, just get lost. You know, I'm better. You know, I'm doing better this way, you know, because you just all this, you know, sure, you might be great, might be good looking and all of that, and immediately might sound like, okay, that's a perfect match, but there is much more to it to be able to stay with a person. And no, this is not really working out for me, in spite what everybody says or thinks that I'm doing, you know.
Are you going to take Diamond in your live lineup? Are you going to?
Oh yeah, yes, actually. So Garage Experience is it's a real what I call community, meaning everyone that recorded on the record, and especially Stephen Perkins, the drummer, Derek Day, Diamond, Betty, and everybody else. They always gonna have a first call whenever we're gonna have shows, tour, and stuff, even here in town and everything. But as they know, we're not going to stop the train just because sometimes they already have some other things happening, or they have their own tour or anything like that. So this is just, it's a continuation. And that's why there is a lot of music getting done for Soul Garage Experience, because the live show, it's, you see it, because we're going to come there soon. And there is a lot of elements in there. It's not just, you know, the songs that I sing or whatever it is, or in the song then the other guys are singing. It's just that there are a little things, also some old covers that we completely rearranged to sound like Soul Garage Experience. It's a show. It's just a show. It's not just like an excuse to go out on stage and play some songs and just start soloing and all of that. And I think, you know, the door for Diamond is open whenever he wants to come around, whenever he wants to sing, you know, that door and the stage door is always going to be open. So let's see. I hope that he can do as many shows as possible, because he's a phenomenon. And when you get to see live that guy, you'll understand why.
Yes. So, and what is going to happen with a Supersonic Blues Machine?
Well, I can tell you without getting in trouble that we have a new record coming. The record has been done for a year now. But I'm going to let the label handle all the announcements and all that kind of stuff. We're probably talking, not probably, we're talking like 2022, of course, because we have a bunch of live things that we're reworking for the third time around since the pandemic. But the Supersonic is very much alive. There is absolutely not overlapping. There is no conflict of interest with what's going on. At the end of the day, Kenny, my drummer, play some songs on this. I didn't want to have Chris to perform on this one specifically, because then, you know, it sounded like, again, it is like Supersonic Blues Machine trying to do something like that. So, and that's not the idea. But actually, I will do some more stuff with Chris too. And I'll invite everybody to keep their ears and eyes open for the next Supersonic Blues Machine, because obviously that's another thing that I care a lot about.
Okay, this is good news. And tell me, do you have some plans for the next year when this CD will be released? Do you have plans to come to Europe, or will be just around the USA or Canada or something?
Oh, no. I love to go to Europe, and I love to go to Spain. I'm not kidding. You know, all my friends there knows it. So the plan is there. Our agent is looking at various opportunity. Like I said, we're in the middle of rebooking Supersonic Blues Machine, because we had a bunch of, a long list of shows that we couldn't perform last year, so we have to move the whole thing. And in conjunction with that, we're also making plans and getting organized on shows and events for Soul Garage Experience. So you're definitely going to see both outfits, bands, shows, events, however you want to call them, coming to Europe fairly soon. I mean, possibly 2022, obviously, not earlier, but definitely we're gonna come that way.
Yes, I ask you this assuming that you are going to be alive, because Soul Garage Experience is an experience to enjoy a life. Of course, when you listen to the music makes you jump, scream, sing. So is your CD is the kind of music that is the sense of this music is playing alive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And one second, I have a guest here that wants to say hi.
Yes.
This is my girl Mia. Come on, Mia, just say hi.
Hi, Mia. Hi.
She likes to come around every time I do interviews. I don't know, there's something between the screen, the microphones and stuff. My dog, no, he's like he learned a lesson, but she's a curious. I think in regards of the music and the live is actually the big push for Soul Garage Experience was given to me once again by another guitar player. I often told the story about how it started, Supersonic Blues Machine with Billy and I working on a song commercial that didn't make the commercial, but we had a great song. And I was asking Billy, what should we do? I think this is too good to let go. And he told me, well, you have one, write 9 more and start a band. And whenever I'm available, I'll come and play. And that's how Supersonic Blues Machine got started. Soul Garage Experience actually is it's the result of one show of Supersonic Blues Machine where we were playing in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're headlining a Kalamazoo Blues Festival, and Robin Ford actually was playing with us. That particular night, Stephen Perkins was substituting Kenny Aronoff because Kenny had an existing engagement with John Fogerty that he couldn't get away from it. It was just like a crazy thing, but we didn't want it to create any problem for Kenny, for John, for anybody. So I said, you know what, no problem. We'll do one show with Perkins. Stephen came out with us. He saw the previous few shows. We rehearsed, obviously, in Los Angeles, and then we played. Now, Robin is a great teacher, but he's also a very inspirator, meaning that night he got everybody to solo, to do some solos live without any rehearsal or anything like that over some of the stuff that he brought as far as music that we were playing. And at the end of the night, he tells me, hey, man, I'm so used to and accustomed to you play with Kenny and Supersonic being, way it is, that now with Perkins, you and Alex Alessandroni Jr., our keyboard player and musical director, this is like the three of you guys sounds like the Doors, but funky. But you should really consider doing some music, because you guys got a totally different sound than the other version of Supersonic, but it's definitely something that I would explore if I was in you. And as soon as we got back to Los Angeles, I called Perkins and I asked him, hey, Robin was saying all this, why don't we, and we started to get together and prepare cover tunes, but rearrange in a way to sound like a band from California at the end of the 60s, early 70s. And we started playing around, and believe it or not, even though there was a lot of jamming in these songs, a lot of like impros and guitar solos and keyboard solos and all of that kind of stuff, the people that came to see the shows were not the usual musicians that go to see real music, type of shows, like where you have like 2,000 guitar players going to see the famous guitar player to see, he screwed up in that song. Absolutely not. It was like a mixed crowd. The majority actually were ladies, and everybody was dancing and have a good time. And that kind of like left a major mark with me. So it's like, this relates really well to people. So as long as we can maintain this level of excitement with the music and also use this as an excuse or a vehicle to deliver, I would say, a good or a meaningful message, I think that would be a good thing. And, that's how it took place, basically. And I wanted to play more live. This will give me more opportunity to play out live, because, to book a band like Supersonic Blues Machine is not that simple, because there is a lot of moving parts in it. But obviously it's always our main goal and our priority. I wanted to have something that was a little bit easier to handle in case, again, everything that comes up and all the requests or invitation that we have for festivals or other shows and stuff like that. And that's what I was saying earlier, is a community. There is a lot of turnaround of people. I mean, you can be sure that I'm always going to be there. I cannot guarantee who's going to be there with me, but whoever is going to be there is going to be, as we say here, a badass musician and a great person. That for sure.
Perfect, Fabrizio. I hope you like the question because I like the answers a lot. And so if you have another detail or something to say to the Spanish fans or whatever, this is your moment.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks everybody for the immense support throughout the years. As I was telling you, I love to come and perform in Spain. Every time that we play there, it's always a great fun. And every time that I came to Spain, even with other artists I was working with, I always had incredible time. You guys get it. I love the attitude over there. And I really hope that we can all have fun and building something good together. And that will give me the opportunity to bring more shows and more crazy and great musicians to have fun with this. So everyone that wants to follow what we're doing, to keep updated with the shows and, you know, more releases and all of that, you can, obviously, you can always go to FabrizioGrossi.com. or soulgarageexperience.com. And over there, you have the links to go to Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, and all of that. And please go to the website, check out all these social media, like us, follow us, because that's how we're able to understand what's going on and where we can really push to get our agent to book us and just bring the show by. And that would be the best and most effective vehicle to follow me. Again, FabrizioGrossi.com or soulgarageexperience.com. Go on it, read everything about the band, and again, then just go from there to YouTube, Instagram, and all of that. Like me and follow us. And actually, I would say, if I'm allowed, the same thing with Supersonic Blues Machine, supersonicbluesmachine.com, and over there you get all the, you know, all the other social media to follow, like, dislike, leave comments. And if you don't like something, please just say it, as long as, you know, we get to hear from you. That's the most important. Because at the end of the day, and I think if there was something that pandemic taught us, is sure, we can all play in our room. We can all, at the end of the day, with the technology, talk to each other and all of this around the world and no matter what, but there is nothing that compares to be on stage with a bunch of great musicians and have a great crowd that is enjoying what you're doing. And, you know, you guys, you feed off each other. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this and why a lot of other colleagues of mine are being musicians. And like I said, there's always something magic for me to do when that happens in Spain. And I'm really looking forward to do it again, you know, with both bands, you know, very, very, very soon. Yes. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thanks to you for your time and this interesting interview, Fabrizio. So I know that there in Los Angeles is in the morning. I was afraid that maybe you were tired and you didn't sleep, but I saw that you are energetic in the morning, in the afternoon, by night. All the time. Yes.
Oh yeah. It's like way too many espressos, man. Yeah. That's one Italian thing that I didn't lose here. You know, no, I'm just kidding. But I'm an early bird. I'm up early every morning, and you know, obviously dealing with Europe, you have to be able to do these things. So once again, thank you, Tony. Thank you so much for the great questions and for the followings, for the fans and everybody out there, and you know. Thanks again for supporting. And the only thing that I have to say is be good and kind to each other. That's all. Thank you, guys.
That's all. Thank you very much, Fabrizio. Bye-bye.
Gracias. Buenos
Gracias
días.
a ti.
Bye-bye.
Grazie mille.
Prego. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.